the Ministry for ICT, the Chief Administrative Secretary of the Ministry of ICT, Maureen Mbaka, Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Vice Chancellor at Strathmore University, Joan Mwangi, the CEO of Professional Marketing Services Group, commonly known as the PMS Group, and last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Hartnell Ndungi, the Chief Data Officer at Absa Group. Once again, thank you for gracing us during this event and lending us the privilege of your time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our guests a digital round of applause, please, if you may. Now, today's event has been organized by PEZETU in partnership with the Strathmore University IT Students Association, SWITSA, and facilitated by our kind and able partners, WorkPay Africa, Technia Digital Academy, Strathmore University, and FISA. Now, ladies and gentlemen, PEZETU is an initiative that is housed under Hillmore Ventures, which is an organization that aims to invest in young people through a series of practical training, storytelling, and providing needed resources that empowers them to create opportunities for themselves and future generations. We always aim to empower millennials and youth, both men and women, to have deep knowledge of financial matters that drive financial health and long-term financial wealth. PEZETU is run and championed by university students themselves who are willing to be part of driving change and self-driven opportunities without waiting to be spoon-fed by anyone or the society. Ladies and gentlemen, I can gladly say rather that for the last 6 months, we have impacted over 1,000 students across the 7 universities in Kenya, public universities in Kenya. And we are building a financial literacy movement for university students and millennials. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benson Odhiambo Mbogo, head of events at PEZETU, and I will be moderating today's discussions and interactions with the help of my able co-host, Mercy Johnson, who is the event lead at Strathmore University. Now, for those joining us on Zoom, kindly mute your mics unless given an opportunity to speak. And you can direct any thematic questions to @Mercy Johnson on the DM, direct messaging. And for those joining us on YouTube Live, let's keep the questions brief and clear, and we will ensure that we answer, if not all, then most. Ladies and gentlemen, you can follow the conversation on Twitter at the hashtag PEZETUStratSummit, and I hope at the end of this meeting, you'll all be inspired to take up the great opportunities that the government, the digital age, and the current world is offering us as the youth. Now, at this juncture, I would like to invite Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Vice Chancellor at Strathmore University, to invite the Chief Administrative Secretary of the Ministry of ICT, who will later on invite Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru to give his keynote speech. Karibu, Dr. Vincent Ogutu. Dr. Hari?
Okay, thank you very much. For some reason, it's not showing my video, but I'm still going to go ahead. So thank you all very much for gracing this occasion, for being with us. I would like to give a very warm welcome to our ICT CS, Joe Musheru, who is such a big friend of Strathmore. He has come to so many of our events, and he knows that being with the youth is the way to push ICT in the country. So thank you very much for joining us today. And I'd like to thank Joan Mwangi, I'd like to thank Maureen Mbaka, our CAS for ICT and youth as well, because I'm going to use her as an example later on of how you can be flexible and be a lawyer and techie at the same time. So welcome as well. And we have some other guests on the panel whom we are proud to have with us today. Joan Mwangi, CEO of PMS. We have Hartnell Ndungi, Chief Data Officer, Absa. So good to have all of you. And then of course we have our own representatives, the student president, Don Kamoya, the head of SWITSA, We have Sharon here helping you to Benson to be the MCs for this event. So thank you very much. And then of course, just the wonderful audience, all of you who are here to join us. So we're going to hear later from all of us. Myself, I'm very passionate about this topic, but I wanted to hand it over to our CAS, to Maureen Barker, to welcome the CAS for us. Maureen, karibu. So Elsie, please enable. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Oh, good morning, everyone. Glad to join you this morning, and just to thank Dr. Ogutu for bestowing me the honor of being called a techie as well. At this juncture, I'd like to invite the Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of ICT, the Honorable Joe Musheru, to greet the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CAS and members for the invitation. Sorry, the system keeps locking on and off, so you can't unmute or mute. But I want to take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me to be part of this honorable panel. Unfortunately, I have a Senate hearing that is going on as we speak, so I wanted to just say hello, and hopefully I will try and join back as soon as we finish at the Senate. But in the meantime, our able CAS, Maureen, will be able to manage. So thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you so much, CS. Perhaps, Pesetu, should I proceed with the keynote address?
Absolutely, Madam CAS.
Thank you so much. I will now proceed to deliver the keynote address on behalf of the Cabinet Secretary, who may join back later. So Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Vice Chancellor, Strathmore University, Mr. Hartwell Ndungi, the CDO, Chief Data Officer at ABSA Kenya, Ms. Joanne Mwangi, the CEO, PMS Group and Lions Den Judge. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me great pleasure to join you this morning to discuss the future of work and tech, a topic that is very relevant in this disruptive period where COVID-19 has accelerated the use of tech in the workplace. I never thought I would see a time when government meetings are taking place on virtual platforms, with participants joining from their homes and offices countrywide. Technology is indeed changing the way we live and work. My vision when I joined the government of Kenya in December 2015 was to lead in its adoption and the phrase, put money in people's pockets. Over the last few years, I have seen a significant increase in automation and business process re-engineering, which has increased the use of emerging technologies such as AI and machine learning. These trends are perceived to be threats to gainful employment, and indeed they are impacting the workplace and the definition of work as we perceive it to be. But for me, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. The one thing God blessed human beings with is the ability to change and adapt. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we and our future generations need to do in order to remain relevant. The future will see AI play a prominent role in our lives because machines can execute repetitive tasks with higher precision than mankind. We now have devices with the ability to learn, improve, and make calculated decisions in ways that enable them to perform functions that were exclusively reserved for human involvement, creativity, and ingenuity. These advances continue to break barriers associated with the traditional ways of conducting business by increasingly automating service delivery and improving efficiency. In turn, this will build a better future for our people, businesses, and communities, leaving a positive mark on our economy. But there are things machines cannot do and will not be able to do. And these are the skills we need to nurture in ourselves, as well as adopt a culture of continuous learning and self-improvement. In addition to the new demand for specialized skill sets to develop and manage machines, employers today are now looking for other human-centric skills such as emotional and social intelligence, cognitive thinking, multilingual skills, creativity, and innovation. We must also nurture the skill of networking and social connections, as this is what the future demands, and one of my key focus areas as the Minister in charge of youth policy is to create a conducive environment for our youth to continuously adapt and change. Ladies and gentlemen, unemployment is a major challenge that affects the youth across Kenya. Approximately 1 million young Kenyans enter the labor market every year, and youth unemployment is estimated to be as high as 35% compared to the overall national unemployment rate of 10%. We must look to grow a thriving digital economy in order to create enough jobs for our youth. In 2019, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta launched Kenya's Digital Economy Blueprint for Africa. The blueprint proposes 5 pillars as foundations for the growth of a digital economy. These pillars are digital government, digital business, infrastructure, innovation-driven entrepreneurship, and digital skills and values. Digital business and innovation-driven entrepreneurship of a robust marketplace are key enablers for digital trade, digital financial services, and digital content. Citizens will need to have the appropriate digital skills to take advantage of the opportunities that arise from a digital economy. Kenyans will have the first mover advantage to lead Africa into the digital ecosystem, and the government is well positioned to ensure that we truly are recognized as the Silicon Savannah of our continent. Kenya is currently recognized as one of the forerunners in Africa in human resource development and broadband penetration across the country. Government will continue to enact enabling legislative frameworks to harness a thriving digital economy. On the infrastructure side, with 5 undersea cables, the National Optic Fiber Infrastructure, that is NOFBI, private sector optic fiber networks, and data centers, the country is ripe for innovations that leverage on these investments to better the lives of citizens countrywide. My ministry has programs available to empower the youth to thrive and to take advantage of digital opportunities, preparing them for the future. These programs include the Ajira Digital Program that mentors youth on how to earn a gainful employment from digital and digitally enabled jobs. To date, over 1.2 million Kenyans are sourcing work from digital platforms. There's also the White Box, which is government's reception to help young innovators to grow and become the next Google or the next Apple. We also have KYOP, which is the Kenya Youth Employment Opportunities Program, which offers training and industrial attachments for the blue-collar ecosystem. We have the Presidential Digital Talent Program, which is now in its 5th year of operation, a program that infuses new creative thinking and talent into the public sector. Finally, we have the Digital Literacy Program, which will see our very young exposed to technology from a very early age, empowering and preparing our future citizenry to the expected future of a digital society where man and computer interact seamlessly for efficiency and economic growth. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate PEZETU and Strathmore University for facilitating this forum. These conversations are very relevant, and we need to ensure that our youth are not only taking part, but also leading in these discussions, so as to identify and lobby for legislative frameworks that will enable them to thrive. The assurances I give you from my ministry is our commitment to continue to work on achieving ubiquitous access to technology by formulating policy frameworks that seek to provide accessible and affordable internet, as well as programs to grow its uptake and utilization at all levels, stimulating innovations and investments in ICT for job creation. With that, I thank you and wish you a successful forum. Asante.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madam CAS, for that insightful and comprehensive speech on behalf of the CS rather. And we had a few questions for him. Now, I don't know if you will be able to answer a few before we hopefully wait for him to join us later. Absolutely. All right. So my first question to you, Madam CAS, is could you please expound for us on the fourth industrial revolution in the context of Kenya's economy and state in terms of the tech advancement, where we are now as Kenya in the global arena and where we will be in the next 5 to 10 years? Yes, please, Madam CAS.
Thank you for those questions. Of course, I'll do my best. I'm sure you had prepared questions for the Cabinet Secretary, but I am here to represent him. So my views on that question is that something that I always say, as Kenya, we are a leader when it comes to the region and for IR. So other countries actually look to Kenya when it comes to developments in this sector. And I believe, as stated in the Cabinet Secretary's speech, that we are creating an enabling environment for uptake of technologies that are coming up by having the correct legislative, or rather enabling legislative, policy and institutional frameworks in place for uptake of all these technologies. So where we are right now is a leader in the region. I think this is quite evident when it comes to the penetration, use of ICTs, uptake of ICTs by various sectors. And where we will be in the future is, of course, moving towards even higher level of uptakes because of the enabling framework that is in place. And of course, one thing that I also always point out is our youthful population, that 75% of Kenya is the young people. And as is evident, young people are very fast in uptake of ICTs, use of ICTs in whatever they are doing. And I think that's an advantage for Kenya. So in the next few years, the sky is the limit. And that is why we have been dubbed the Silicon Savannah. Thank you.
Absolutely, Madam CAS, the sky is the limit. And on to the next question. Now, what are these opportunities that are available in technology now that have a high potential to advance further in Kenya?
Thank you. I think when we look at the opportunities in place, what I can speak of mainly is what comes out in our JIRA digital program, and really the theme of the event today, which is the future of work. So one of the opportunity is in the gig economy. That's what I would speak about. Having young people prepare to take up the opportunities that are in the gig economy, getting these skills that will enable them to work in this changing nature of work. I think it also came out in the Cabinet Secretary's speech, being ready to upskill. So yes, we do have all these technologies that will make work easier, but instead of looking at them as the fact that they're coming to take jobs, we should look at them as an opportunity leverage on new areas of work, such as the gig economy. So that is why we have the Ajira Digital Program that prepares young people for the future of work, gives opportunity for upskilling, learning more or getting more skills in the technology space, and really taking advantage of the future of work, which is being able to work remotely, working from anywhere, providing services all over the world from the comfort of your home. So one of that, in conclusion, one of the opportunities that I see are very big are in the gig economy. Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant, Madam CAS. And before I welcome the panelists to at least say hi to the audience, I would like to ask you one more question. Now, Professor Ndiamo, he was once the Cabinet Secretary for ICT. Now, he once said that Kenya should thank God that we have many problems, because problems are the engine for motivation. Now, how do we get into a problem-solving mindset as young people vis-a-vis the tech advancements and the gig economy? In brief, Madam CAS, before we introduce the panelists.
Thank you for that. I think I'll approach it just as I spoke about the having a youthful population. I think in another forum I was asked, I mean, is this a pro or a con to have such a high, young population? Is this a problem? So really, it's all about leveraging on what we have, which I think is a big pro. Young people taking up these technical skills, technology skills, using ICTs in whatever they do, not just techies, as we've been told, but in whichever field that you are, taking up technological skills and using this to supplement or to enhance whatever it is that you're doing. So when it comes to problem solving, another thing about our youthful population is that Kenyans are very innovative. So coming up with innovations, and of course, innovations should be targeted to, addressing any problem that is there in society. Once you identify a problem, coming up with an innovative way of solving this problem or a new way of solving this problem, I think we are very innovative as a country, especially our young population, and I think that is one of our strengths, really. Thank you.
Absolutely, Madam CS. Thank you so much. And I think I'll come back to you on the same question with a statement that most youth are over-mentored but under-sponsored. Hold your thoughts, Madam CS. At this juncture, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. We have Dr. Vincent Ogutu. You already said hi, the Vice Chancellor at Strathmore University, but I'll once again give him another chance to say hi again to the audience. We have Madam Joan Mwangi, the CEO of Professional Marketing Services, commonly known as the PMS Group. And last but not least, we have Mr. Hatnel Ndungi, the Chief Data Officer, CDO, ABSA Group. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, help me to welcome Madam Joan Mwangi to say hi to the audience, say hi to you guys before we get into the panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen. As we wait for,
please enable her to unmute.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was both muted and blanked out of video, so unable to communicate, but it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very, very much for this invitation. Congratulations, Pezzetto. I truly believe that the future of work is something that is very innovative and very critical for us to discuss. And so I look forward to getting into the panel. And for me, I would only say one simple thing as a start. The future is now, and in terms of what is work, work is simply, to me, solving a problem in a novel way that creates value both for the person you're solving the problem for and for yourself as a problem solver. I'll stop there, and when I sort out my video and all, I hope to be back for you to see me as I look today, not the screenshot you have. Thank you.
Absolutely, Madam Jo, and we look forward to hearing more insights from you. And now I would like to invite Mr. Hartnell Ndungu to say hi to the audience. Karibu.
Hi guys, Hartnell Ndungu here, Chief Data Officer at Absa Bank Kenya. Interestingly, or fortunately, or unfortunately, the only Chief Data Officer at East and Central Africa. So I am living within the future of work, one of the roles and jobs that are speaking to how we transform the world currently. So looking forward to answering your questions and sharing my journey and my perspective on how you can actually ensure you take opportunity of the chance that it is right now. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hartnell Ndungu. We also look forward to drinking from your cup of wisdom. And last but not least, I would once again like to invite the Vice Chancellor at Strathmore University, Dr. Vincent Ogutu. If you had another tale of your greeting that was remaining, please, you could finish that out.
Thank you, Benson, and thank you, Pesetu, for joining Strathmore to organize this event. I'm just very optimistic, looking at people like Hartnell who are already living the jobs of the future. So we are in the future, and the world is just moving faster and faster and faster. So things I never dreamt of when I was growing up are already a reality. The ones that I'm beginning to imagine now could become a reality in a very short space of time. So it's one of those opportunities in history when you can co-create. So you can imagine something and then make it happen. It's also one of those moments in history where the field is level. You can compete with anyone, anywhere in the world, show them no respect at all. It doesn't matter which country they come from, and compete. So this is also a great opportunity for us. And I like to think that in Kenya, we've got a very great competitive spirit. And in Africa in general, because remember, Strathmore is not just Kenya. We have students from all over Africa, all over the world. And so it's a level playing field. Looking forward to the conversation today to see how it can help all of us to take advantage of these opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Ogutu. In fact, I listened to both of your videos and interviews, and you're one person who talks about having the skills of the future. I'm pretty sure we'll get back to that a bit later. But at this juncture, I would like to go back to the CAS and ask, do you think that the youth are over-empowered yet under-sponsored? What's your take on that?
Thank you so much for that. Your quote is that the youth are over-mentored and under-sponsored. I think what I would say, especially from the government's perspective, is that the government's role is really to create an enabling environment and to equip the youth, to take up the opportunities that are in place right now. And I think I've already brought out the fact that we do strive to do this, especially when it comes to speaking of the ICT space and the opportunities that are in the ICT space. We have created that enabling policy, legislative, and institutional framework to ensure that there's a conducive ICT space in place. I've spoken of the digital economy blueprint. We also, of course, have the national ICT policy. When it comes to legislation, we have in place the Data Protection Act. We have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. And of course, we do have now the Office of the Data Commissioner. And when it comes to infrastructure and ensuring connectivity across the country, we do have that national optic fiber backbone infrastructure, which aims to have connectivity all across the country to reach everyone so that everyone has access to the internet. We also have the Universal Service Fund that is actually in place to ensure that unserved and unconnected areas are actually connected. So really creating that enabling environment for the youth to take up the opportunities that are there. We also have we do have the programs which I've spoken about, such as the digital literacy program, which is really to ensure that young people have the digital literacy skills to prepare for the future of work. I have spoken of the JIRA program, JIRA digital program, which offers free training, and I want to say mentorship, which you've used in your quote as well. But this is really the tools to prepare them for the future of work and to take up the opportunities that are there. And speaking as a young person myself, there's this quote that I like that I've heard before from one of my mentors, which is that you should participate in your own rescue. As a young person, you should, take advantage. I think Dr. Ogutu has spoken of a time when these things were not there. But now we have the internet at our fingertips. We can learn about these things. And then now we have the free tools given to us by the government. We should take advantage of them, such as the Ajira program. Thank you.
Absolutely, Madam CS. And talking of internet connectivity, I think it suffices to say that we have about 9,000 kilometers of fiber across the country. Is that figure correct? Absolutely. Thank you so much. And now to the next question. Now, we've seen programs such as the Barefoot Digital Program, which has actually taught over 800 standard 8 leavers in Kisumu on how to code. Now, in this age of tech, besides such opportunities, how else is the government equalizing women's participation in science and technology? I'm pretty sure we'll get to dive into that more a bit later. But for now, what are your thoughts on that? Madam CS.
Sorry, I think I broke off. Please, what was the question?
Oh, absolutely. Now, we've seen programs such as the Barefoot Digital Program, right, which has actually taught over 800 standard 8 leavers in Kisumu on how to code. And all of these standard 8 leavers are actually girls. Now, in this age where tech becomes the base for jobs, how is the government specifically equalizing women's participation in science and technology?
Thank you so much for that question. I personally, I am a champion for having more women in tech, more women in STEM. And I did actually have an event on Girls in ICT Day that was earlier this year. And I do believe that there should be more women taking part in STEM and ICT, of course. So what I always say when it comes to having more women in these spaces is that it will take intentional and deliberate actions to have more women in these spaces. Of course, at this moment, we do speak of the gender digital divide, where it is evident that fewer women are in these spaces. Speaking of ICT, that's the gender digital divide. So these deliberate actions need to be in place. You've spoken about this Barefoot. I think that's one example of a good initiative to ensure that more women are in these spaces. When it comes to government programs, I can speak of, for instance, the Ajira program, where we do keep track of how many women are taking up this program and how many women are going from the training to the mentorship to actually earning online. So we keep track of these numbers, and we ensure that there's a balance, at least, that when it falls below a balance, we take now steps to actually have targeted awareness creation to women, so that more of them are taking up the program. So it will take deliberate and intentional actions to have more women in these spaces, and we do take such actions within our programs at the ministry. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madam CS. And at this juncture, I would like to bring on board Mr. Hartnell Ndungu, the Chief Data Officer at Absa Group. Mr. Hartnell, if you can hear me.
Confirm if you can see me and hear me.
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, you were the first Chief Data Officer to be appointed in not only in East Africa, but also in Central Africa. How does that make you feel?
One, it's a mixed bag of feelings. Number one, it's a good opportunity. Looking at my counterparts, mostly within the southern part of Africa, then you get to share the stage and have to interact with other chief data officers. You also get to share your thoughts in different platforms, but also the other side of the coin is that we need more of chief data officers. We need more of data leaders. So it still also begs the point that we have to do much more. And that means giving people more opportunities to learn about data, analytics, artificial intelligence, data science. And for me, it's all about now being part of these platforms, sharing my expertise, my experience as well, just to ensure that we're able to bring more people on board. So it's a mixed bag of feelings.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Now, as an individual with a deep understanding of artificial intelligence, data management, and digital transformation, now, how can the youth harness the power of business of data, coupled with technology for growth and transformation?
So the first thing, I think it was mentioned earlier by the CES and also by Dr. Vincent. We have to remember that the opportunities to actually take part in this transformation are actually there because we are already in the fourth industrial revolution. So you did ask a question earlier, whereby if you look at the history, how did we get here? First, we had the steam engines. People made railroads. People made trains. We had the electric bulb. People discovered electricity. It moved from DC to AC currents. Now we went into the third industrial revolution, whereby people are now using microchips to create computers. The telephone became the most used tool over years. And now we're in the fourth industrial revolution, whereby data, blockchain, artificial intelligence are the key technologies driving how our world is shaping right now. So it is up to you first to be able to get the interest and seize the opportunity by being ready to learn. And being ready to learn here is you have to go ahead. It's not like the brick and mortar jobs, whereby if you are not having anything against the finance and business specialist, but some of these courses and technologies and studies have actually been there for a while. And if you look at technology, things are changing by the day. I usually wake up and read so many articles about what is shaping up within the technology world. And I get to understand that you as a person have to go out there and keep on reading. So how do the youth take part in this? Number one, make sure that you are getting involved in this kind of conversations. Number two, education about the technology shifts is present in all forms of channels online these days. So don't only focus on your key career path or your key study path. Go ahead and take up something new. There are courses these days that take roughly $5 to afford online. You can actually go ahead and pick this and be able to learn something new about data analytics. And just to share this fact is that I got here by actually taking that initiative very earlier on in my career. So when we didn't have any kind of data specialties or any kind of people we could look up to as data champions or data experts, then I went online and started reaching out to people across the continents just to get to know how the skill can be acquired and can be transformed into a career. So number one, learn. Number two, raise your hand. You actually will not get most people these days calling you and telling you play part, because some of these technologies are actually learned by multiple people across different universities. So if you now ask for a data scientist, roughly 6 months or 6 years back, I used to struggle getting data scientists. This day, everyone claims they can actually fit a model or understand exactly how data science model works. So raise your hand, participate in hackathons, participate in any kind of voluntary work just to get your expertise notched up so that you can be able to master these skills. And once you're ready, I think the opportunity will actually reward itself easily for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Hartnell. And before I call upon my awesome co-host to ask the next round of questions, I would also like to bring on board Madam Joanne Mwangi. Kindly, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Now, your entrepreneurial journey started as a one-man show, right? You got a cleaner, got a driver. So when did technology become a significant part of your entrepreneurial journey?
First and foremost, thank you so much. And I would say that I'll speak as an old fogey, because by the time I started my business, technology was not a buzzword. And so we didn't know what internet was. We did not know what an email was. And the first time I encountered somebody wanting me to set up an email address, I asked them, why do I need email when I know everybody that I deal with and I can call them? So flashback and look at today where we are now, and I can't live without the internet, without email. So I would say that technology really became a part of the business as soon as it came to Kenya, because we did not have an option in the matter, and that I would say is around 25 years ago. And in terms of technology, for me, I look at technology as more than just ICT. And I want to say that I'm very glad that we have the CAS, Ministry of Information, ICT, because I've worked with teams in that department and working especially with the Ajira program. And what I would say is that for me, what I have seen is that technology is perceived to be ICT, and it is not always ICT, it is technology in terms of other things. Now, as a brick and mortar person, I would like to bring to the core that regardless of what we do, the future of work will still have to be us making sure that we are creating value chain optimization within the areas that are core to business. So for me, I still want us to look at what is the brick and mortar part that will be augmented by technology. And in that, I'm talking about food, clothing, shelter, and the basics that still have to come through that. So that, because I find sometimes there's an overemphasis on the means rather than the actual need that is going to be met. I know I've answered your question plus added my own answer to other things, but so I would say 25 years ago is when technology became evident, was necessary for business.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madam Joan. And now to the last question before I call upon Sharon. Now, you've handled, merchandise for great companies. We're talking Del Monte, we're talking MultiChoice, we're talking Bidco, and you also built IFMIS from a company that no one completely knew about to a household name. How did you do that? And what role did technology play in all that transformation?
Thank you very much. I think maybe just to clarify on that, we've worked with maybe some of the biggest brands in Kenya, because at Professional Marketing Services, we really work with brands. And when you're working with a brand, what you're trying to do is to get the brand to be one of the best loved brands in the world. And how you do that is by data. So it goes back to what Hatnel was saying in terms of you must have the data available for you to sort, because then based on that, you find what are the psychographics and what are the nuances that you need to feed so that people like what you're saying and like your brand. Now, I will talk about IFMIS because it's a simple project that is very well known. IFMIS is the Integrated Financial Management Information System, which is a government platform for procurement, for payment, and for managing basically the government business, if I may put it that way. And working with IFMIS, one of the things we discovered is that a lot of the time we were using tech terms that did not speak to the people. So for example, we would say re-engineering business, government business, and people are completely lost as to what that is. But the minute you simplify that message and say, making sure that your money is used the way it was meant to be, straight away, everybody understands what you're saying. And so I will say that technology is what you use as the means to communicate the message, meaning that we're able to create the website, to have social media campaigns, to have digital campaigns online and offline, and to have a lot of other, tools to support the messaging. But the platform itself had to be robust because the platform was actually the vehicle through which all this procurement was being done. So I would say that there is a need for the technology to be very strong, but there's also a need for the human interaction to actually communicate effectively. I'll also speak to that and say that when you're talking about building a brand, you must always remember that your brand must be borderless, must be limitless, and must also be what I would say ready to pivot daily, because in this day, everything is iterating on the go. So with brands such as IFMIS, what I would say is that the whole time we were working on it, every day we were changing, every day we were changing. And just to give a very simple example, when we started having procurement being done through IFMIS, which meant that all the procurement you're doing is logged into the system, everyone can tell the process, where it is in the process, how much money is available, what has gone to what. The first thing it creates is transparency. And you can imagine the resistance to change, especially for people who are thriving in the chaos. And so the first thing is that everybody said it's not working, it's hard to use, we don't like it, etc. And you know what? We realized that trying to speak to the actual end user, which was the accounting officers, especially in government institutions, wasn't working. And so the communication had to change. And so now we started leveraging the political capital that they're looking for, because they're looking for popularity. And so we would say, for example, the children are saying, because my governor uses IFMIS, our school never runs out of chalk. Now, suddenly that governor cannot talk ill of IFMIS. So what I'm saying is that yes, there's technology, but there's also the human aspect that we must always remember to apply to technology. And as they usually say, garbage in, garbage out. And for me, I would say that when it comes to technology and the future, really it is purpose-driven work that's going to take the cup. Thank you very much.
Beautiful, Madam Joanne Mwangi. Thank you so much for that insightful talk. I'll get back to you later on a few more questions, including the statement, cash is king in business. Do you agree or not? All your thoughts, Madam Joanne? At this juncture, I would like to introduce my co-host, Sharon Johnson, to ask the next round of questions. Sharon.
Good morning, our fellow panelists and everyone sitting in the comforts of wherever they are for this event. It is a great honor for me to host such amazing people that I think everyone in this day and age look up to and would love to be. So I have 2 to 3 questions here. One reading, and I quote, what do the panelists think of the UBI, the Universal Basic Income concept, where the machines do the jobs and the pay goes to the people for them, and the pay goes to the people for them to do other things? The concept is being piloted in countries like South Korea. Would that be a good idea to implement in Kenya? Because it is a matter of time before all jobs go to the machines. So, okay, the question's out to all panelists. There isn't a specific panelist that is mentioned. So I think we can start by Madam CAS, and then we can go to Mr. Vincent, then Madam Joanne, and then Mr. Hartanel.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that question. One thing is that I do really need to read more about this system that you've just talked about, Universal UBI. Very interesting. These are the new innovations that come up every day that, of course, we try and read about and learn about. So I'm also learning from here. But one thing that I did pick from you is that one quote that you brought out was that machines are taking all the jobs. I would have to completely disagree with that statement. This is where now people get scared of technology. They're saying, let's not use it. It's coming here to take our jobs. I think, as has been brought out, that resistance to technology. So let me just maybe comment on that particular phrase that machines are taking our jobs. This is not true. As stated in the Cabinet Secretary's speech, is that machines and technology machines are coming in to actually make work easier. So there are tasks, the repetitive tasks that machines will be able to do, but then there'll be that aspect has been brought out by Madam Joanne, I think, that there's that as human aspect also when it comes to work skills that machines will not be able to replicate. So there'll be even more, these skills, machines will actually free up humans to perfect these skills, the human skills, the social skills. So really, let's move away from saying that machines will take our jobs. what we should say is that machines will make our jobs easier. They'll take up those repetitive tasks that will free us up to be even more, to provide even more efficient services that speak even more to the human aspect and to the needs of humans. Thank you.
Thank you. I completely agree. Mr. Vincent, what do you think about the UBI?
Well, like the Madame CAS, I don't think computers will take over all the jobs. They can't. But let's assume that they could, okay? Would I be happy if all I did was receive an income which has been earned by computers and robots, and then I'm just on holiday like all day long? How would that be an attractive prospect for me? And I've actually thought about this, and I ask people a lot, because my area is the psychology of meaningful work. What meaning do we take out of work? Why do we work? And so I've asked that question to people. If you were given $1 billion, do whatever you want, what would you do for the rest of your life? Jeff Bezos, I saw this thing yesterday where if you earned $10,000 every single day, 365 days a week, and you've been earning it since the pyramids were built in ancient Egypt, you would have 12% of the wealth of Jeff Bezos right now. So that's the kind of wealth you're looking at. Now, what would you do? Would you just stop working and just holiday all day long? I mean, look at Jeff Bezos himself. Is that what he's doing? No, he continues working. Look at the second richest man, Bernard. Look at the third richest man, Elon Musk. He doesn't stop. I mean, Elon Musk is now worth like $150 billion. Does he stop working because he could? I mean, in his case, he doesn't even need robots. Just his savings alone are enough to carry him for the rest of his life. But it doesn't, because life is about those challenges that we face. We love solving problems. I mean, Benson was talking about it earlier. These problems that we take on, and we are having a problem-solving mindset. So Elon Musk wants to do like incredible things. He wants to make it possible to travel to space, to live in space, to go across the earth in seconds. And he's serious about it. He's trying to find solutions to that. He will not rest until he has the best car, the best plane, the best, delivered to the world, because that's what makes him get out of bed every day. It's not to just say, oh, I own $150 billion. I can just go to the beach again. Oh, I'm tired of the beach. Let me go to the mountain. No, let me just watch Netflix all day long and eat potato chips. And I mean, what a disgusting sort of lifestyle. It's not exciting at all. But if you say, how can I get people to go to Mars? What if the Earth is destroyed in a cataclysm, a planet hits us? Will we have an escape mechanism? Can we survive in other planets? So he's solving the problems that haven't even occurred. And that's exciting. Now that's a life worth living. So if I were to say, okay, let's take UBI, let's all just live off what the robots earn and just party all day long, I'll say, no, it's not appealing. It's not exciting enough. I mean, I enjoy a party every now and then. I love holidays, but I can't picture my entire life being a holiday. Like just the same way birds were meant to fly, fish were meant to swim, humans were meant to work, because work develops you, it gives you challenges, it allows you to work with other people, it makes you feel useful, like the world needs me, I solve problems. Your self-esteem, it's all tied to work. I would be totally against living off handouts for the rest of my life.
Wow, I think the phrase you said of birds are meant to fly, fish are meant to swim, and humans are meant to work. I think now when I'm like lazy, I think that's what I'm going to use, that, I have to go somewhere and it's going to be through my hard work. And okay, so the question, the main question is, for the UBI, as Madam CAS says, she doesn't see machines taking people's jobs. it isn't true. And I think all of us do agree that machines are not going to take over people's jobs, because there's some jobs that only humans can do. And the question is, um, in case it does happen, would Kenya actually take the UBI and implement it, or would companies just take the profits that the machines are earning and not give it to the people, and people remain unemployed? Anyone in the panel that could answer the question?
I volunteer Hartnell for you.
Okay, fine. So I can take that one. And thanks, Dr. Vincent. So I'm just thinking about UBI. And number one, what I can bring to the fore is that the concept of UBI actually spans from the concept of fairness, whereby you want to guarantee basic income at a universal rate to everyone. And it also rides off the concepts that are being put together to try and describe the fifth industrial revolution, whereby we'll have machines either augmenting or doing much more support with regards to automation and helping humans have, can I say, an easy life. What I see with UBI is that it can only work whereby you have actually solved the basic of issues. Number one, with regards to education, transformation, social and economic issues, before you actually get to a point whereby you can start deploying machines to actually start augmenting what humans are doing and in return get an income. So bluntly, do I think Kenya will get there? I have some question marks, because we already have so many social economic issues that we're trying to solve. But now, what happens if we do get there? I fully agree with Dr. Vincent that meaning the why is actually what drives us to do what we do and to actually wake up in the morning and live our lives. I believe people will actually prefer a different form of approach to ensuring that we have income, and that's one is the GMI approach, which is an alternative to UBI. So GMI is basically guaranteed minimum income. And what it calls for, it says that we are still going for fairness, but we are ensuring that everyone has the least they require to live a normal life. So if you are in the low or middle income, then whatever we make from the automations and augmentation from the fifth industrial revolution, then we actually ensure that we are supplementing everyone wherever they are. So if I'm living in my small hut up in the up country, then I get some few subsistence coins or notes just to help me not struggle in my day-to-day life. And if I'm living in a high income area, then they fuel my Porsche for me so that I'm actually continuing to live the life that I'm living. So guaranteed minimum income considers, number one, that you will not have full equity because people are actually classified in different job groups or income groups. And number two, you're not letting the computers and the machines take over the world. What you're doing is actually still allowing people to learn how to control the machines so that we are actually able to benefit and coexist with them. Do I feel that we'll get to that level of AI? Because it is the level of AI. I believe we can get there, but everything has to be driven by the human being. My thoughts, Hartnell.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was also more informative. And I think also the second question, Mr. Hartnell, I think you'll be able to answer this. So it says, and I quote, what is the panorama of people going back to working normally as opposed to working digitally post-COVID-19? Are the changes here to stay, or was it just an adaptability mechanism? Because we are 16 years early to the whole technological factor and age that we are in.
I usually answer this question because I get it frequently in different forums. by saying that adaptation is the journey to change. And this is what I mean. We all were reacting to what the COVID environment created for us. For my team, I lead a team of close to 40 data specialists, and all of us actually are now fully working from home. I'm in my home right now to speak. And the first few months were tough because everyone is used to talking to each other, and everyone wants to say hi or make a joke to your friend, and now you have to book a Teams meeting to actually make a joke. So it becomes complex. But over time, we started discovering that as we are actually trying to cope with COVID, then Microsoft and other big tech companies were actually doing the same thing. Teams became upgraded more than 6 times in a span of a month just to incorporate features, raising your hand and doing all those kind of features. So we were all adapting in one form or shape. So what I've discovered, and I did a poll for my team and asked them, guys, do you want to go back to the office? And 90% of them said no. And the reason for that is because as we are actually adapting, people discovered new ways of improving their efficiency. People discovered that now, other than just working from home, I don't have to commute. I don't have to think about how I dress. I may be having a sweatpant down there and a suit on top. People started understanding that you can still use your WhatsApp channels to make the jokes you're making. And it doesn't have to be a meeting. You can just shoot a video and enjoy a session with your colleague. And people became more calm and settled. So are we having working remotely staying? I remember the times when I was a developer and a techie, nobody allowed you to develop from home because everyone thought you're going to be sleeping. These days, people actually tell you, we have seen your productivity not being impacted by working remotely. So you can do it. So is it going to stay? I'll say it will stay depending on the type of industry you are. What I know that will remain going forward is actually the hybrid approach of working. You will have an opportunity to work in different places, from your coffee shop to your home and to the office. So what I run for my team, we do have a hot desk, whereby if you do miss coming and chatting and discussing and having a brainstorming session in the office, then you go into a system and a tool, you book yourself in, you ensure that you follow the COVID protocols, and you go to office. But most of the time, we are now focusing not on the process and not on the means, but on the end and the results. I no longer check exactly what types of code you wrote. I want to see the code working. I want to see the AUC and the accuracy level of the output. So adaptation is good. And I think that COVID was just a catalyst. People say the financial crisis in 2008 catalyzed so many changes. The top dollar tech companies actually were formed then or became mature then. I think COVID is also a catalyst for us to become the new form of human we want to live in the future. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Now the third question I have is actually in regards to the development of technology, and this is on the M1 chip that Apple just released, the Apple Silicon M1 chip, and I think everyone here should be informed about it. So, Mr. Hartnell, of course, the question comes back to you.
No, I will actually now recommend that Dr. Vincent and Joanne check this up first. I don't want to steal all the questions.
You're throwing me under the bus. I mean, of course, I don't know what she's talking about.
Sharon, please clarify, what does your chip do so that you can ask? Joanne said you ask the easy questions. Don't use the technical. You are engineering the questions.
But it's regarding to the technology and development. Also, our honorable CS, Mr. Joe Masheru, has joined us as well. Thank you for joining us, sir. It's a pleasure for us to host you. So basically, Apple Silicon has just introduced in 2020 the M1 chip, where it's a tiny chip that has its GPU, CPU, everything in it, if I'm not wrong, and it's supposed to be 10 times faster than the Intel processing unit. So what are your takes on the M1 chip? And do you think that, and also the question goes out to Madam Joanne, do you think that it has been over-marketed and overpriced and just put out there, like overrated?
So that question is to me?
Yes, sir, you could answer the question as well.
Oh, okay. No, I was just checking. Okay, sorry. I will listen to the answers. I mean, I'm hoping to get the first iMac with the chip soon. But
no, CS Joe, you're not running away
first.
from this one. You're the techie here, man. Save us.
No, you know, and I really apologize. We were at Senate and we were discussing the digital literacy program with the Ministry of Education, and there's so much interest on what we're doing with schools and how we can make sure everybody's connected and everybody has access. And so, it went on for longer than I had anticipated, but I'm glad at least I can join the conversation. I've been listening a bit, and it's very lively and good. I wish I was in throughout. But I would say first, for us as a country, access to technology is important for everybody in terms of providing equality and even providing equity. Being the latest technology, whereas sometimes it is good, it's not necessarily solving all our problems. And let me explain. With M-Pesa, we still have majority of our people using the USSD version, not even the app version. Yet it is still transferring a lot of money. For those who are using Fuliza, they know they've been able to borrow, I think, over 245 billion on this same system. So the latest technology and latest chips, whereas they are critical and important for a lot of the huge data processing, moving faster and so on. When you're in government, you want to carry everybody with you. And whereas I want to make sure I'm testing all the latest technologies, because that's my drink. I don't drink beer, so I drink technology. I think what Apple and other technology companies are doing is great, because then it means the costs of this huge technology are coming down, and therefore we can do a lot more processing, whether it is processing on images. As government right now, we want to stop all this writing in books when you're going to offices. So you should be able to process everyone's image when you're going into a building, and security-wise, nobody should be asking you questions, number plates being read and so on. So the M1 chip will help us in using these technologies, but at commercial or consumer level. Whereas before it would be a lot more expensive. So I'm excited that, we're seeing better technologies coming out. We started a factory recently for semiconductors at Dedan Kimathi University of Science and Technology. And and they've agreed that we can have this now expanded to as many technology universities as possible. And then we move even to surface mount. So eventually I hope we'll also be producing these kind of chips and working to provide for the world. So I hope I've answered. When you come into a party in the middle, you may not have got the full context, but that's what I can say for now. Thank you.
CS Joe, you've given a great. It's a great basis for those of us who are lagging behind and catching up to be able to jump in now. I'm excited, but just a little bit, because I've seen this cycle far too often, where you get a quicker phone, a quicker computer, a quicker CPU, and then within a year or two, the software that tries to take advantage of it becomes so heavy that you're slower than the computer you had before. And then you play the same game again. You improve the hardware, and then the software becomes heavy. You get updates. I'm using actually a 1-month-old computer right now. It was fantastic on the first day, and it's getting slower every month. And I've been through this cycle like over and over again. So I'm excited, but I'm containing my excitement, because I know it's just a temporary high, and very soon we'll be back where we started. So we need to actually, and I'm putting this as a challenge to all of you as innovators, how can you break the cycle? Because this cycle has been going on my entire digital life. We need a formula where if something is fast, it stays fast forever. How do you do that?
Good thoughts, Dr. Vincent. Yes,
can I add one thing and just ask that if we start producing our own software and taking advantage of this hardware, then we can ensure that those speeds are there, and those challenges begin to end. We were doing some analysis on how much it costs government to just pay for licenses. If we produced our own software, for some of these services, we'd be paying even a 10. We spend taxpayers' money, and then we can leverage some of that hardware and develop. So I think the challenge should be, how can we make sure that these machines are going to still perform really well as we provide the engine, the software that is required. Thank you.
I think that would work if it's the government doing it, because theoretically, you're not trying to make a profit. What I believe is these guys are in cahoots. Let's make this brand new hardware, make everyone excited, they buy it. Then the software guys are like, great, we have a new challenge. We produce new software, then we slow you down, then you get new business, produce new hardware. And so if it's government, CS Joe, I agree. But you leave it to us, private sector guys, the cycle will continue. Is it the reggae will continue? The reggae will continue.
And I think to that one, maybe I can just jump in and say, to the question that Sharon asked in regards to whether the M1 chip is being over-marketed. And I would say there's no such thing as over-marketing, because when you're marketing, you're actually intending to take over the world by creating a perception that suits you. So the fact that they are succeeding is actually not that they're over-marketing, but they're marketing correctly and the way they should, because, and I fall in the same group as Dr. Ogutu, Vincent, that these guys are in cahoots and they know what they're doing. And if you want to remember, and I said I'm the dinosaur in the room, if you want to remember, for those of us who bought a Nokia 3310, how long it lasted and how well it worked. You could drop it, nothing would happen. Your battery lasted a week, things like that. Look at today. I'm buying a new iPhone, and every 6 months to a year, you're getting a newer one. And before you can even understand what you're doing with it, you have another one. That's the power of marketing. And I think for me, I would say you need to separate the different functions and what the objectives are. So when a company in private sector is producing a product, a good, a service, they want to overmarket, to use your word, Sharon, so that the market can actually purchase for their profit. And on the other hand, we as the consumers, we want a product that gives us the best value. Now that balance, how do you strike it? And this is where policy and legislation comes in, where government intervention comes in. And it's nice to see you, CS Joe Mushero. I want to say that also, it's been really nice listening to the CAS, Maureen, because she's young and she spoke to what the issues really are. And for those of us like me and her, we're not really techies, let me put it that way. So of course, Hartnell has been teaching us a lot of stuff. And by the time we come out of here, we're going to be knowing more than anybody. And this space is getting very exciting. And I want to repeat that for me, I want to say that we also have to work from a position of, first and foremost, of abundance and not scarcity. Technology is not going to take away anything from anybody. It's just going to give you the means to maximize the returns on what you have if you use technology properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before I hand it over to my fellow host, Ben, I have two more questions. One, I will direct to Madam CAS and Mr. CS, which reads, Moore's Law seems like a theory we're just taught in school. Is it really implemented? I do not know what Moore's Law is. Apologies. However, it is a question that has been asked.
Yeah, this is about capacity. Like, every 4 years, you're able to double the kind of speed of the processor or storage, all those kind of. I think in reality, it is the case. And it's probably what we've been discussing just now, that as soon as you have more capacity, then more software comes in to slow down and use up that capacity. So in reality, I would say it is there, but we don't always need the extra capacity. What we need to do is to be able to use what we have to get everybody also involved and on board. And that we also need to start doing our own research, because I think most of these technologies we're importing. When are we going to start exporting from Kenya? Although we recently went now to Ethiopia, and I hope we can do quite well there, and some of the other countries that are asking for us. So I'll ask CAS also maybe to answer. But anyway, yeah. CAS, Maureen?
Thank you, CS. I believe I have nothing more to add to your answer. Thank you.
Then I should have let you answer first. Okay.
Thank you so much. One of my last questions would go also, Mr. Hartnell, do you have anything to say on this?
No, I fully agree with what CS mentioned. It's basically every year, the size of the microchip continues becoming smaller. Previously, you had very big rooms full of computers. Now, over the age, you're seeing the amount of processing we can do on a simple phone. Actually, it's actually becoming better. If you see some of the people logged onto this call, actually using their phones. I think some years back, that was not possible. So as we actually keep on developing the best technology, then our needs will keep on changing. That M1 chip, I think you will have some advantages if it works, whereby now instead of having video calls, we may be having some hologram calls. But that again is all in our imagination, and you can see exactly what the technology can bring forth. What I can just mention to the participants, make sure you pick out the advantages of some of these developments and innovations. Number one, study what is doing differently, because that can be your idea for your next project. Some of these innovations are not there only to be used within the commercial world, but also to give you ideas on how to innovate within your own small ecosystem. So take that home. Thanks.
Thanks, Hartnell. Actually, it's good you're putting this as a challenge to them as students, because I tried solving precisely the problem you're talking about when I was a student, about holograms and how to teleport ourselves from one place to another. And the limitation was either the bandwidth that the internet allows us to use, or the compression software that allows us to get through that thin pipe, which we're calling the bandwidth. And I tried to come with an out-of-the-box solution where you're not relying on better hardware or better software, but you're using mathematics. And there's a video on it. So I presented this at Google in New York. It's a playful thing, but take a look at it. So my challenge again to you is try and innovate, try and see how you can use these technologies or work your way around it. And then finally, Sharon, I think this process of Moore's law that thankfully CS Musheru gave me before I could Google it, I think it's inbuilt in our nature. So just bringing us to the philosophical side of this, I think as human beings, we have infinite desire. So there's no point at which we'll say, this is it, I want no more, this is heaven already. We'll always want something more. So if we manage to travel to the moon, we'll want to travel to Mars. If we finally travel to Mars, we'll say, why not another galaxy? Why don't we go to Antares? I don't know, wherever, you know. So I don't think this is going to stop, because it's like inbuilt in our DNA. We'll always want to do things better, faster, go further than our grandparents went. And that's what makes life exciting. It would kind of be boring if we reached the limit, don't you think?
Yeah, can I say, Sharon, even before you come back, that I fully agree, and that's on the cutting edge. But what about what we have today? So this watch of mine here tells me what is my oxygen level. If anything is changing, it tells me I've changed my altitude and so on. But is that available to everybody? My phone here, it's a 5G phone, because again, you know, it tells me people's temperature. You can check the same way the guns work, all the software. So can we not even use what is there to now expand so that we create services? The reason Apple is able to do this kind of thing is that they are worth $2 trillion or $2.3 trillion. So even if they gave 0.3, that's 300 billion for R&D, they can do very many things. So what are we doing to make money and create innovations that are going to create these kind of innovations? So there are some things that we have today that can actually be used and scaled and made to look even great for our communities. As you know, we've now come together as a continent. the African Free Trade Area, that's about 1.3 billion people. And we're creating a single digital market. So the young people should look at how they can take advantage of now taking this technology to everyone, because not everyone has an iPhone. But can you create your own that, something that can reach all these people? So that's my view and what I have learned having just come to government, that the opportunities are many and people just need to seize them. It doesn't have to be the newest, so long as it's really functional.
Okay, I think Mr. CS is experiencing a little connectivity issues, but once he comes, of course, we will let him go on with what he's saying, because it's very inspirational and we can learn a lot. I have 2 more questions if Ben would allow me.
Absolutely, Sharon.
Okay, so one of the questions is, I think Madam CAS, you could answer this. From a financial and work perspective, and I think also Madam Joanne, from a financial and work perspective, how do you improve technology under specific areas, like for people living with disabilities? There seems to be a lack of interest in technology, and I don't know the full form, but it says PWDS, Powders Power.
PWDS is
People-
persons with disabilities.
Disabilities, yeah.
Okay, person with disabilities, thank you. In Kenya, yet the workplace is beginning to embrace persons with disabilities without appropriate assessive devices. And okay, so the person who sent in the message is a person with a disability. So what is the government or what are companies doing to improve technology in specific areas and for specific people? Madam CAS, I think you can go first.
Thank you, Sharon, for that question. I think I'll answer it in 2 parts. One part is definitely having the PWDs on the table when such discussions are being had. I believe it's important that when policy is being made, when decisions are being made, when there's legislation being made, it's important that there's that representation at the table so that their views are taken into place. I think this happens when if for the frameworks, for spaces should on the
Madam CAS.
Sorry, Sharon, am I on? Am I still
Yes,
on?
Yes, you are. However, you did break off as soon as like a few minutes as you started. So if you could please repeat.
Okay. Sorry about that. What I was saying is it is important to have the PWDs at the table when these policies are being made. And to the second part of my question is actually to point out that as the government, I stated that we do have the digital economy blueprint, which is all about, which is a roadmap to transforming an economy, to a digital one. And as Kenya, we are the champions for the digital economy under the Smart Africa Alliance umbrella. So across Africa, we are actually a champion when it comes to transforming an economy into a digital one. And under the digital economy, it has various pillars on how to transform an economy into a digital one. And as we are moving from the blueprint into now having a digital economy strategy, which is where the blueprint is heading, one of the pillars that was included is what we call digital inclusion. And this will take into account, that ICTs should be made for everyone, all people, no one should be left behind. And that's what that pillar is about. So thank you for that question, because it is important. And as the government, we are taking it into consideration, even as we move towards the digital economy. Thank you.
I can jump in, Sharon, as well. I think taking on a problem like helping people with disabilities is just a fantastic area for those of you who are techies. Remember Wilson, the one who was a graduate assistant at Strathmore Law School and is now doing a master's in South Africa. He's blind, and he used to use an app on his phone to bring himself to the university. He didn't need help from anybody. So he could travel. The first time he came, we were shocked, and he even challenged us. You find a place on Google Map and I'll find it, and we see who gets it quicker, because he could speak in high speed and listen to his app in high speed. So I challenge all of you to take on fantastic projects like that. And there are several people who've taken it as their big challenge, to make the blind see, to help the deaf hear. Just pick any of those interesting taglines, make that your challenge, and it'll be fantastic. What a great way to use your talent.
Okay, and Sharon, maybe just to add to that, because you had requested that I also weigh in, is to say that I also think that the persons with disabilities need to have their needs articulated in a collective form, so that developers can actually identify where the areas of concern and need are. Because as long as there's a need, people work to meet it. But remember, awareness is only the person walking in the shoe that knows. There are many forums and international groups that work with persons with disabilities. And I have had opportunity to enjoy working with a group that was working in terms of accessibility for persons with disabilities in tourism facilities, and they would rate them the same way you do like 5-star rating. And so I think it's just to increase the reach of what it is they're looking for, because using technology would make life so much easier for persons with challenges of different types. So I would say that's the only addition I would say, especially given that the question was asked by somebody with living with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Before I hand it over back to my lovely host, I see that Mr. CS has joined us again. So would you like to add anything on this, and also Mr. Hartinel?
Because I wasn't there, I'm not sure what this is exactly, but maybe Mr. Hartinel can answer first, then I might grasp what it was about. Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah,
before
okay.
Okay, so before Mr. Hartinel goes, I can read the question again, so that he has like an idea of what we're talking about. So someone asked, this is a person with disability. So from a financial and work perspective, how do you improve technology uptake in specific areas, like for persons living with disabilities? There seems to be a lack of interest in technology and persons with disabilities in Kenya, yet the workplace is beginning to embrace persons with disabilities without appropriate assistive devices. And the person who said this is a person with disabilities. So Mr. Hartinel, you can go first, and then Mr. CS.
No, I can actually let CS go first. Please, yes.
Thank you very much. I think this is it's a very important question, and it's one where we have found that in some cases we say it's someone or people with disability, but they actually have more ability For instance, we've got some work that we're doing with the judiciary where we are transcribing court cases. Their ability for hearing and typing and understanding that that's a different person and so on, they actually have more ability than I would say disability. So what we're meant to do, and what even as government we're working hard, is to make sure that in all the programs, in the policies that we put in place, that there is a place for persons with disability. And this includes even in many of the activities we're doing with the youth department. We started, let's say, for the devices where we're providing in schools, making sure that there are devices available, not only for those that are blind, but even those that have challenges hearing. So looking at all manner of devices that can be included and incorporated. And so one of the key areas that we're focusing on is we need to do almost an audit of, what are the requirements, what is the number of people, and we did that during the census. We know how many of the people with disabilities have devices, and in providing that information to the public and to the developers and to innovators, you are beginning to see that people are beginning to develop different products. You may have seen in some of the innovation centers where there's even electronic walking sticks that are describing for you what is going on. We have a young man who's been working even on different languages. We have others. I think there's one who's working on coins and money and notes, different currencies, and they're now doing this across the world. Because again, if you're blind and you can't see the money, how do you verify someone has given you a real 1,000 shilling note? So a lot of, I would say, demand and market is there for people with disabilities. And really, we want to make sure as government we're providing the necessary information. We have seen that many of our, I would say, licensees, the operators and tech companies, they're also engaging and getting involved. And even within the Ministry of Education, ensuring that education is available for all. So it's a broad area, and it's an important area, and it's one where we can harness and be able to even leverage and come up with innovations. So thank you.
Yeah, so I think much has been said, but I can chime in on 2 points here, Sharon. So number one is that it's a call to innovators. As we actually strive to now deliberately create solutions to those people who are differently abled, then we also have to remember that we have to bring their problems actually to their fore. If you actually look at the VC world, most of the time you'll see the big announcements made for companies that have gotten funding are actually the ones that have high growth scale and the ones that actually have high income impact. But it's a call again to the people who are investing and the people who are co-creating within the fintech ecosystems. Then listen, as VCs, we also are supposed to look at ESG, economic, social, and governance impacts to what we are trying to do as we actually co-create and create different companies. So the social part is very important for me. As they actually interact with different fintech ecosystems, I usually ask them that, what are you doing? Do you have a specific aspect of your budget that is looking at the people who are differently abled, the social matters, our environment, which is something that we all have to deliberately take on and ensure that we are supporting. So innovators, it's up to you. Be focused on people who are differently abled, not really disabled, and innovators and people who are funding. Ensure that you have enough of a budget to support this kind of ESG initiatives. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having to host you guys. Back to you, Ben.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sharon. Karibu tena Bwana Sias. We missed you. Welcome back to the party. Fortunately, you didn't miss a lot. And I'm surprised you said you don't drink beer. I wonder if they make a beer brand and they call it technology. I wonder if you'll take it. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. Karibu sana Bwana Sias. Now, my first question goes to Madam Joanne, but please hold your thoughts. Let me first get to you, Bwana Sias. And so the question is, you had the first task force in Africa in artificial intelligence, right? And it was tasked with looking at emerging technologies and to create jobs moving forward. How's that going so far, Bwana Sias?
So first, that task force did a wonderful job, and they gave a report which we made public. And it was supposed to be very broad, looking at not just now, but also in future. What are the things that we can do? It was also going to help us verify that the policies that we are currently implementing are the correct policies, especially when you look at the fourth industrial revolution, you look at what's going on with AI, with machine learning, all the different things that are going on. And of course, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So they were supposed to look at all that and give us as a country, what is the direction we're supposed to move. Some of the recommendations they made are very useful, and we are already implementing. Some require, change in legislation. So for instance, making the Kenya shilling a digital currency is one of the recommendations that they provided. And to some degree, it's not a difficult thing, because today M-Pesa is more or less Kenya's digital currency, and it's pegged to the Kenya shilling. So it's how can we look at that and find ways of making it better. They also recommended that we should have a digital asset register. What this means, for instance, is that all the land should be put into an immutable or a blockchain. And everybody that owns land, their names are put there. So instead of keeping on subdividing land and going to smaller and smaller units, you can be able to, if you had 5 acres and you've got 5 children, you can give each of them 1 acre equivalent or 20% of that asset. And if they take that to the bank, then they can be able to borrow money. They don't have to specifically take a physical title and so on. So they gave us some of these recommendations on how to curb corruption, ensuring we have the single identity for Kenyans, which we call the Huduma number. They verified that is critical, national addressing. So a lot of good stuff came out of that. Out of that report, we have the digital economy blueprint that CAS talked about earlier, and that we're sharing actually with the continent, not just Kenya. Out of that, the semiconductor factory and a few other factories that are in the process, and a lot of the investors who have come into Konza, they have come because they have seen where Kenya is. And Did you catch me there, the end?
We lost you a bit, Bwana CS, at the tail end.
I was saying that there are those who now, for instance, have come to support us at Konza. There are others who are supporting us now in the semiconductor manufacturing. We are seeing people now who want to invest to put broadband on all the electricity cables, so that now, the meters you have in your house will be, full of Wi-Fi, and you don't have to do, many other things, for connectivity within homes. So many interesting things have come out of the report that we got from the task force, and we hope that this will help us, even as we try and achieve our Vision 2030. Asante.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bwana CS. And now to the next question. 52% of work activities in Kenya are susceptible to automation, from a bank teller to medicine. Now, the good thing is, Bwana CS, I come from a medical background. I'm finally in medical microbiology, and we have the IBM machine called Watson Healthcare. Now, this is an artificial intelligence engine that has actually ingested over 100 years of medical prescription and diagnosis. Now, Bwana CS, honestly, do you think that this is the age of more tech and fewer jobs, in brief?
I don't think so. I will say there's been a lot of, and I'll call it hype about artificial intelligence. And whereas it is true, technology is able to do a lot of these things, Watson has learned all these things from people. They've given Watson all this information, but you'll find in many cases, the human intelligence is still top, is still going to be the most important area. There are many areas where you can automate, where machines are useful, where machines can help, whether it is arithmetic, calculating this, calculating that. trying to say this is that. You know, when a child is born, you tell them that is a cat, but you never show them every cat in the world. A computer, you have to show it every cat in the world for them to recognize every cat. But for a human being, they know that that is a cat. Even when they see a lion, they know it's sort of like a cat. And in a sense, there are things that are still human intelligence that we have to rely on. And so what is happening, and I'm not trying to say that AI is not important, AI is bringing more importance to human intelligence, HI. And what we've seen, like here in Kenya, the many young people who are working with, I would say these cloud companies that are working online, they're the ones providing a lot of information and support and learning for the artificial intelligence systems out there, whether it's the autonomous vehicles, drones, and so on, even the ones in deciding who's who and so on. But you see, the AI is creating a lot more jobs, where someone, the companies now where they do SMS, well, voicemail to SMS. But those companies are not yet ready to automate that whole process 100%, because if you get it wrong and you send the wrong message, the wrong SMS, there could be a problem. So they're still using a lot more humans to translate, or transcribe what is going on in the voicemail, and then they will send that as a text message. And what does that mean? Many, many more jobs for the young people to do that work. So I think there's going to be replacement of certain jobs, but overall, I believe humans are continuously going to be important in this whole process, and that intelligence will be used.
All right, thank you so much, Bwana CS. I think it therefore suffices to say that these anxieties about dystopian jobless future are just part of a blur. I'll get back to you, Bwana CS. I'm actually happy that we have a diverse panel. I think I'll jump straight to Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the scholar in the room, right? Now, you say that you're already living in the future of work. Now, a slight question, why didn't you wait for a secretary? And how can we prepare for the future of work as young people?
I think in my case, I landed in the future of work accidentally, out of need. So even though Sharon was saying that COVID made us arrive 16 years too early, the world wasn't ready, this was meant to happen 16 years later, I had already been doing this for 7 years. And it all started because when I stopped attending classes and I started doing my field research, I had to be on the move a lot. And so sometimes I'm on a train in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and I'm saying, oh gosh, I forgot this book at home, or I forgot this article, which I would have loved to read right now, or I didn't carry my laptop, I just have my phone. And then I said, no, this is crazy. Let me just have everything I need all the time. And the way to do that was not just to have it digitally, but to have it in the cloud, so that it didn't matter which device I had carried with me, I could pick it up exactly where I had stopped and continue working. And then when I came back to Kenya, I had actually forgotten how to work with paper, and it just became a way of life. So every time I had to move office, they'd tell me, can we send a team to help you move to your new office? And I'd always say, a team? I don't understand. Like for what? Then they say to carry your filing cabinet. I say, I don't have one. Where do you keep your files? Like, I don't have files. Where do you keep your papers? I don't have paper. It's all in the cloud. So I think part of it is just recognizing the convenience of using technology, and then having the courage to break away from old ways of doing things and embracing newer, more efficient ways of doing things. But again, not doing it in such a way that you let yourself be carried away by technology, so that you do whatever it is that technology is providing. But remember to remain human. So even though I'm an avid consumer of technology, at the same time, I find it a tragedy that people can be seated around a table and they're all texting. They're not talking to each other, smiling at each other, getting to know each other. So again, as we adopt and take advantage, we should remember to be human, remember who we are, and just keep a hold on that. So it's a dynamic tension, you might say, between being an embracer and an early adopter, and at the same time holding on to our values. I can see CS is changamkang and he wants to say something. So please, yes,
No, I was just going to say that's what they said when the radio was first introduced, that families will not sit and talk together and that it's going to change. And then they said the same on newspapers. And I think the human spirit has always eventually won. So I'm hoping that even as we do these things, what you're saying is going to live, and we will want to engage. We had sessions with the senators in Mombasa, much better than the online version. So I think eventually we will get out of the technology and get back to being humans, I think.
Yes, fully agree.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Ogutu. And lastly, back to you, Dr. Vincent, communication and emotional intelligence as a skill of the future. In brief, Dr. Vincent.
It's interesting that you asked me this in the middle of a tech, forum, because this is kind of one of the things that we think humans, at the moment, humans are so far ahead of machines in terms of emotional intelligence. But I'm actually working with some friends in Eastern Europe who are trying to codify emotional intelligence and other types of human perception. And we have a multinational team, which is also interdisciplinary. So we have techies, we have linguists, and we have psychologists. So we're trying to all work together to see how we can teach machines to interpret emotions and therefore enable us to make choices quicker, like in recruitment, for instance. Right now, we make you take a diagnostic test in order to gauge which personality type you are and whether you would therefore be suitable for a particular role in our organization. But you can fake it, you can be trained to do it. So what we're trying to do is look at ways of looking at everything you've ever written and reverse engineering from all your posts and everything, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, what kind of a person, when you were faking it and creating a public persona, when we were catching the real you. And it's hard because we're trying to both teach them the machines and also use machine learning. It's an iterative process. But what I would say is all of us need emotional intelligence. This is one of the things that will get you ahead in life. And I think techies are probably the ones who need it the most, because techies are accused of just being like the machines that they command. And they prefer actually to be in the company of a machine than with people. Just leave me alone with my machine. I just do what I'm doing. And so as a result, you might not notice when people are annoyed with you or when they actually like you and they want to speak with you more. You don't catch those signals because you've become a robot. So I think it's so important for techies to lift their heads up and to observe people. And my quick way of teaching you how to do that is every day go through a period of mindfulness or reflection where you spend 10 minutes, and I call it meditation myself, or prayer, where you do what I call a CT scan. So the way you could scan yourself from head coming down to the nose, the mouth, the throat, the heart, moving down to your feet, you just ask yourself, how do I feel? What is that feeling? So you label it, and then what should I do about that feeling? So you might say, I'm not feeling quite myself. There's something wrong. Then stop and reflect, what is wrong? Then you'll say, that's called anger. I'm annoyed. What am I annoyed about? It's because so-and-so said this about me. And then now you go to the philosophical level. You ask yourself, should I be annoyed about such a statement because it wasn't even true? Why am I even giving them the ability to control me and make me annoyed? Actually, what they said is ridiculous, it's useless, and I'm not going to let it impact me in any way. And then you find peace and you resolve that problem. Now, if you do this every day, I spend an hour every day, half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening. In my case, I'm praying, but part of that prayer is reflection, inward looking, interpreting and correctly labeling all the emotions and making decisions about what it'll then mean. So it could be an emotion like anger. It could be an emotion like guilt. So I'm feeling guilty. Why? Because I did this and no one knows yet. But if they find out, then I'm like, no, it's wrong. I need to correct it. I should actually go and own up and say sorry and resolve it. And then it'll stop bothering me. Because if I live waiting not to be discovered, this could go on forever. I'll set myself free, I'll go, I'll own up, I'll take the consequences. It'll last a day or two and life goes on. So these are ways of teaching yourself emotional intelligence, and also looking at people and saying, why is that person saying what they're saying? Why are they looking the way they're looking? Why did they react the way they did? And try and find out why, reflect. And the more you think about these things, the more emotional intelligent you become. Now, hopefully this is one of the advantages we shall hold over technology for the longest time. But there are those of us who are actually trying to beat the curve in this team. Let's see how far we go. I'm just doing it because it's exciting, but it's tough. It's tough to teach a machine how to interpret emotions.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Before Ben goes, unfortunately, it's time that we say our goodbyes to Mr. CS. I've been told he has to be somewhere. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It was a pleasure having you, and we have learned so much, and we're looking forward to more events where you will grace our presence and teach us more.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I definitely look forward to many more. And I'm certain CAS is holding forth very well. She's much younger, looks much better, so I'm sure you'll be okay with her continuing. But really, to all of you, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Asanteni.
Thank you, CS.
Right, thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Ogutu, for that wonderful speech. And I must say that you're one person that I look up to so much for inspiration. And hopefully at the tail end of this meeting, I'll give you an opportunity to talk to us about your experience at the TEDx in Barcelona. But unfortunately, we have come to the end of the meeting. But before that, I'd like us to play a game. It's actually very engaging, involving, but pretty simple. It's called Rapid Fire with Pesetu. Okay, so I'll give you a list of words, then you tell me what comes first to your mind. Okay, so we'll start with CAS, then Daktari, then Mr. Hartnell. I don't know if Madam Joan is with us. Unfortunately. Right, so we will do this, the three of you rather. And I'll start with CAS, I'll go to Daktari, then Mr. Hartnell. Okay, so Madam CAS, this is yours. Future of work, the first thing that comes to your mind. Future of work.
Remote working.
Dr. Vincent, Vision 2030.
I think of flexibility, doing many different things, not just the same job. So the ultimate gig economy where I can be all the different things that I feel I was born to be. A musician, an athlete, a techie, an orator, an artist, just a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of that. That's what excites me about the future of work.
Brilliant.
And CAS Maureen is doing it, by the way. She's, like we said, she's actually promoting tech and she's a lawyer. That's already the kind of flexibility you need.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Hartnell, data.
Wow. Insight, knowledge, understanding, intelligence. Those are 4 things, not one.
Great. CAS Maureen, something exciting?
Something exciting is the future of work.
Oh, great. Dr. Vincent, upstate New York.
Oh my gosh, that's my second home. 105th and Riverside Drive.
Great.
I lived there for 6 years, so that's upstate New York. No, sorry, I didn't live in upstate New York. I lived in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But upstate New York, I used to go there to a prison called Wallkill Correctional Facility to talk to the prisoners and to try and give them meaning and help and show them how they could use their prison experience to come out as amazing individuals. So don't think of it as a prison, as a punishment. Think of it as training. And just in a nutshell, I would tell them, a soldier, if I give them the opportunity to just leave the training camp, get their badge and uniform, and you're now a soldier, would they take it? The same way you as a prisoner, if I said, you can leave prison right now, here's your certificate of release, you would take it. And the answer is a soldier would not take it. They want to remain there, get beaten up, hardened, toughened, because if they are declared a soldier and given a badge and they've not had the training, they'll be eaten up by real soldiers in war. So they actually like the punishment. They actually take it on because for them, it's not punishment, it's training. So I would help the prisoners to see what they were going through as training rather than as a punishment. And if through the prison experience, they learned how to be more patient, how to be tougher, how to be kinder, then they would become extraordinary individuals when they step out, just like those soldiers are extraordinary individuals, 100 times better than a civilian. They could be like that. So that's the kind of motivation I would give them. And I continue to do that here in Kenya, both with current inmates and people who are out. I'm on the board of Nafisika Trust, which helps prisoners to build the soft skills and entrepreneurial skills to be self-sufficient when they are released.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Now, I'll just make one confirmation. I don't know if we have Madam Joan Mwangi with us once more. All right. If not, then I think Hartnell will take the last question. Things that keep you up at night. First thought that comes to your mind.
Data privacy. Data use of data in the right way. That keeps me up at night.
Really? Wow. Thank you so much, Hartnell. Thank you so much, CAS Maureen Barker. Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Ogutu. And thank you so much to all the people joining us today live on Zoom and live on YouTube. And now at this juncture, I'd like to give our guests 20 seconds at most, 20 seconds, just give you closing remarks. And Mr. Vincent, Dr. Vincent, rather, you could talk about your experience, the TED Talk you gave in Barcelona, how to be the richest young person, I think something of the sort, right? You could just please summarize that in 20 seconds. Mr. Hartnell, you can do the same, and Madam CAS Maureen Barker, you can also do the same. And I think the lady will go first. Madam CAS, kindly.
Thank you so much for that. I'll take my 20 seconds to thank the organizers, to thank my fellow panelists for this opportunity. So other than learning about UBI, I've also learned about mindfulness from the VC and a lot of techie terms from the CDO at ABSA. Thank you so much for that. To close, I would just want to speak to my fellow young people on the call and to tell them that the future of work is exciting. Prepare for the future of work. Remember that it makes our opportunities borderless. And as the government, do take advantage of our programs. We do have the Ajira digital program that is made, that is actually tailored for the young people. So just go to ajiradigital.go.ke. You'll be able to join Zoom classes and learn about the gig economy. You'll be able to take up self-learning courses from our partners such as IBM and Cisco and go through a course and get a certificate, just as Mr. Hartnell was talking about. Like, you can learn from home, and this is absolutely free from the government. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
The pleasure was all ours, Madam CAS. Thank you so much, and we hope to have you back here again sometime in the near future. Thank you so much. And now to Mr. Hartnell Ndungu.
Yeah, so thank you first to Pezetu for hosting me. It's a pleasure just sharing my thoughts and insights about the future of work and just being able to also listen in from the great speakers that were also part of this panel. My parting shot, the future of work is here. The opportunity has been availed to you. Seize it. Don't wait for it to be fed down to you. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Opportunities are here. Make sure you seize them. Mr. Hartnell Ndungu, the Chief Data Officer at ABSA Group. And last but not least, Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Vice Chancellor at Strathmore University. And please, I really want to know, you TEDx talk at Barcelona, how can I be the richest person on the planet? Please make it brief as you give your closing remarks. Dr. Vincent.
That's tough to give a 15-minute TED talk in 20 seconds, but here we go. We all want to be rich, but the greatest wealth that we can have is inside, in being a better human, taking yourself to the fullest realization of what you're capable of. And we're all immensely, insanely talented. And also we have the capacity to just be good people with big hearts, you know, loving everyone, giving ourselves to others. And if you want to be happy in life, I think walk that journey of growing your internal wealth, not just the external wealth that you.
It seems we've lost Dr. Vincent Ogutu.
Yes, I think we have lost him. And there's one question. Madam CAS, could you please kindly repeat the website?
Of course, it is ajiradigital.go.ke.
Okay, thank you very much. Back to you, Ben.
Great. So we have Dr. Karib back on board. Kindly.
Yes, sorry, I don't know how my internet went off. So basically, the main thing is about pursuing internal wealth rather than just external wealth. That is your best ticket to happiness, and to just enjoying life to the fullest, you know, discovering parts of you didn't know existed, things you could do you didn't know you could do, and then having the discipline to train yourself to get to the highest level of what that is, that talent, and then also becoming just a better human, loving people with a huge heart and giving yourself to them. No better way to live your life. So I encourage you to walk that exciting journey of trying not to be the richest person financial-wise in the world, but just the richest human in terms of having reached the highest level of what it means to be a human, and to enjoy that and then to share it with others. What a way to live your life. So I encourage all of you to do it. I've had a great time being with all of you and learning so much from CS, Maureen, CDO, Hartnell, Joanne, CS, Joe, and all of you, you know, Sharon, all the different jargon that was being bandied around. And I have my notebook. This is the only paper I use. So I've been taking notes, and it's been great just learning from all of you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Ogutu. And once again, thank you, Madam CS Maureen Baka, for lending us the privilege of your time. Thank you so much, Chief Data Officer, ABSA Group, Mr. Hartnell Ndungu, for also lending us the privilege of your time. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Ogutu. I'll be sure to listen to your TED Talk Barcelona once again. Now, at this juncture, due to time, I would like to call upon our CEO and co-founder, ATPEZETU, Charity Kithaka, to give our closing remarks. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benson Odhiambo Mbogo, and I've been your soft-spoken host with the lovely co-host Sharon Johnson, and it's been a pleasure being your moderator for today. Karibu Charity.
So hi everyone. So thank you so much, Ben and Sharon, for doing an amazing job. So I'll just leave you all with a quote from the late Chris Kirubi. Leaders need to possess charisma, and yet it's inclusive. So it was amazing having you all on board, and I would love to bring this meeting to an official close. Thank you.
Thank you guys, and have yourselves a lovely day.